Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Torey and today we are working on my October daily album on story number 10. So I did pull a material prompt today and I am doing a shaker page. The story that I'm documenting today is actually going to be a very simple story. I just took a photo outside last week sometime when the weather here in Florida was 67 degrees. It was amazing outside and I was home alone, so I went out on the back porch with a nice cup of tea and just kind of was enjoying the evening before my husband and kids got home. So I am going to really make my shaker page a just decorative fill-in page for the next page, though I will try to kind of make them match a little bit. I have 3 sets of sequins here. 2 of them, the pink and black ones, are Spellbinders sequins. And this other kind of mixed sequence is from Picket Fence Studios, I think. I got it from scrapbook.com. I had also pulled out just a plain 4x8 page protector. And right now I'm deciding that I'm going to change that and grab a 6x8 2x2 pocket page protector. And I'm going to trim off that last set of pockets, and that way I only have 8 pockets that I need to fill in. So here I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers guillotine trimmer, and I'm going to trim off that last pocket there and then kind of work on deciding how I'm going to want this page to become a shaker pocket. Once I get my kind of page protector ready here, I am going to grab some of these little triangle trays from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to disperse the sequence mix that I had kind of put together into 3 of those trays. I did make quite a bit of it, and I just kind of felt like the sharp edges of the triangle would make it a little bit easier for me to get the sequence in some of these pockets. So I'm going to alternate each row with which pocket I'm putting sequins in, and then in the other pocket next to it I will add some of the leftover scrap paper that I've been using throughout my album. I did feel like I had put a little bit too much sequins in a couple of these pockets, so I'm going to stop and pull out a bit before I move on to the next step and then get everything ready to go. I do pull out the We Are Memory Keepers Fuse tool. I purchased this tool last year, I think around December daily time frame. I have not used it one time. This is the first time I will have ever used this tool, and it takes me a minute to figure out the pressure and speed at which I need to use it, but it works out in the end. So I'm going to get this all kind of set up, and then I will start fusing the pockets together that I had already put my sequins in. On camera, I've only got 3 done so far, so I figured I would do the last pocket last, so I wouldn't have to worry about any sequins falling out of it. I don't know why I decided to do that one separate, but I'm guessing it had something to do with the sequence and fusing everything together. So I'm going through and I'm just kind of putting that pressure on there to try and fuse those pockets together. And we'll see here in the next few moments that this didn't actually work. So I'm finishing up my last little pocket here, feeling pretty good about myself, and decide to give this a test shake. And my pockets were not sealed at all, and I just dumped all of the sequins back all over my table. So I'm going to clean that back up and then try it again. So when I go back to do my second round of fusing this page protector, I decided to try and go a little bit slower and also apply a little bit more pressure, because I'm thinking what happened is that I kind of melted the front of the page protector, but I didn't actually reach the back of the page protector. So I'm thinking that if I go a little bit slower and add a little bit more pressure, I should be good to go. And this is exactly what I needed to do. And it does end up working out for me. And so I go ahead and fill that last pocket and get that fused together as well. The next thing that I'm going to work on here with this kind of shaker page is filling in those empty pockets. So I went ahead and went through my scrap pieces of paper from earlier in this project, and I pulled out a scrap piece of the spiderweb vellum and then the scrap piece of like the starry type paper, and I believe these are both papers that I used for my day one page for this album. So I had these left over and I really love both of them, so I wanted to get them used up. So I'm going to trim them down to 2 inches wide, and then I will go through and trim 4 2-inch squares from each piece. And that pretty much just used up the rest of both of these papers, which I was super happy about because now I don't have to worry about figuring out how to use it later. So I'm getting the vellum piece done now, and then I will move on to getting my regular cardstock piece. And I'm going to kind of play around with how I want to place these within the album. So initially, I was thinking I might just do the vellum, though I don't actually know what that looks like because I only stuck one piece in, but what I end up doing is backing the vellum on the back of the patterned paper. Since the back of the patterned paper is just white, it kind of just makes it so that it's not really see-through anymore, which I do kind of miss a little bit since I do like the fact that you can see through vellum, but I also like the way that this looks too. So I'm going to alternate the patterns with each row that I'm working on. So on essentially one half of the page, I'm going to have the spider vellum being the first print that you see, and then on the second half of the page, I'll have that star paper being the main print that you see, and then when you flip the page, it'll be opposite because I have them backing each other up. And then once I have all of that in there, I'm going to clear up my space a little bit, and then I'm going to pull out a little embellishment holder that I've been using, and I'm going to look to see what I can embellish these squares with. I'm thinking that I want to use circles. I have a lot of circles from the Ali Edwards kits. So I do go through and I'm starting to pull out all of the little circles that I have to see what I'm liking. I'm planning to just adhere these circles directly to the page protector. So I'm going to use some foam tape to do that because one of these actually ends up being a chipboard piece, because the only ones that I had in like this black or darker, moodier color were kind of cardstock die cuts. And then I had a chipboard like spell book die cut that I felt like worked really well with everything. So I'm going to leave the chipboard die cut there, and then I'm going to pop the rest of those up on a piece of foam adhesive. The next thing I'm going to do is kind of figure out what I want to add to my actual photo for my number. I thought about just kind of stamping or placing the number directly on the photo, but even though it's a simple photo, I felt like that might be a little bit too busy, and I also wanted to add a little bit of orange that I had in my sequence over to someplace else on the spread because I don't have it in a lot of spots in general. So I'm going to use that half circle die cut for my number, and I've got that in that orange color that will match the orange in my sequence. Here I am just ultimately deciding for sure that I want to use these circles and get them adhered down. So I am going for it and just adhering them down with a piece of foam tape each. And then I will pull out my number. I'm going to pull out some puffy white numbers from the Paper Person shop, and I believe these were part of like the December collection last year, so they're no longer available, but I did love them so much that I bought multiple packs of them. So I'm pulling those out to use as my story number, And at this point, I forgot which story I was working on, so I'm pulling out my album to kind of figure out which number I should actually be using. And while I have my album out, I am going to go ahead and pull out the second page of story 9 so that I can work on getting these adhered back to back once I get this number down. As you'll see here in a moment when I get my pages put back in my album, my pages are surprisingly chunky this year. I have definitely gone above and beyond with the chunk levels that I've been applying to my pages. So I am only on story number 10 and already ready to be in a new album. So I went ahead and bit the bullet and ordered a second album because I don't think I'm going to fit as many stories as I have already printed out, ready to work on. So I have adhered story 9 to story number 10, and I am going to just kind of trim down the page to make sure everything is lined up. And I believe that that is the last thing that I am doing once I get my holes punched. So once I get my holes punched, I will be placing this back in my album, and you'll see me kind of flipping through it because the top half of my pages, I'm guessing, is where I've been putting a lot more of my embellishments. That is the part that's just kind of full on sticking up in my album. So you'll definitely be able to tell where the chunkiness is lying. But yeah, like I said, this is going to be the last thing that I'm doing today. I'm just getting this put back in my album. If you made it to the end of this video, leave me a comment with your favorite type of tea or coffee below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!